Hi. I had a really interesting experience at the shops before when I went to buy a book at QBD at Tea Plaza. Basically, I walked into the shop and was looking at books, and I could hear the guy at the counter talking to like customers and asking how they were and um, saying that if they need any help that they can ask him and he'd be happy to help them, etc., etc. And like usually when you go into a retail store and you hear people, you're kind of like, oh yeah, like it fades into the background, it's no big deal. But this guy, the way he was saying things, he was like so genuine, so genuine, genuinely cared about how people were doing, genuinely was so stoked to help somebody if they needed it. And it got to the point where I stopped looking at books and I like backed up and looked out the aisle and I was like, holy crap. So went and like got my book and whatever, got up to the counter, put it on the counter and kind of just stood there, and he was like, hey, how are you doing today? And I was like, I'm really good, thank you. How are you? And he stopped what he was doing. He looked at me and he was like, and I said to him, I was like, are you okay? And he goes, thank you so much for asking how I'm doing. I really appreciate that. I'm really good, thank you. And I just looked at him and I was like, that's okay, like, no big deal, And he goes, he just kind of had like this taken aback look on his face. And I said to him, I was like, do like, are you saying that because people don't really ask how you're doing? And he goes, yeah, like 95% of the time, people just, they don't even acknowledge my existence. Like I'm just here working, like they ignore me, they don't ask how I'm doing, nothing. And I was like, I'm really sorry to hear that. And he goes, yeah, it's a bit of a bummer. And I was like, well, I just want you to know that when I was looking in the aisles at books, I stopped what I was doing and I kind of like looked in your direction because I could hear how genuine you were when you were asking people how their day was and asking if they needed help and everything. And he was just like, thank you so much. He's like, I genuinely do care. And I was like, yeah, well, you can feel that, like, there's something about the way you say things to people that conveys the message that you actually give a shit, basically. And he was like, thank you so much. And I was like, I just want to let you know that I really appreciate that because that's really hard to find now. Just in society in general, it's hard to find people who are genuine. And it was so profound. And I walked out and the last thing I said to him, I was like, look, I value you, like I really appreciate you. And he just goes, thank you so much. He's like, you have an awesome day. And I was like, you too. And it was just like, I just felt so like, I can't even explain it. Like, it just had the most profound impact on me that something so simple as such a simple interaction like that could make someone stop dead in their tracks and just be so taken aback by someone asking how they are, Is that not just common courtesy? Like, apparently it's not, as what he said is pretty true, and I found it as well. People don't really ask how you're doing, It's everyone's so self-absorbed in what they're doing. And I mean, I will be the first one to admit that I am guilty at this at times as well when I have shit going on. I'm so in my head and so focused on me that I forget to ask people how they are. And I tell you what, this experience woke me up to the fact that I never want to be someone like that. I never want to be somebody who makes someone feel like they aren't being heard or someone doesn't care, like and it's just the most simple thing, like just ask how people are doing. My dad, he used to be just the most genuine person. Like, he would walk down the street and make eye contact with everyone and just be like, hey, how you doing? Like simple shit. And so I grew up around that, and that's why I never have an issue with being like, hey, how are you doing, kind of thing, It's just what people do, right? And yeah, like he was just so friendly, and I think that's where I learned like being able to get along with a lot of different people just by being a fucking nice human being, you know. I've been talking about this a lot lately with people. Anyone who's had an interaction with me within the last couple of weeks has heard my whole, holy fuck, people are so absorbed in social media. Like, I could have easily missed that interaction at the bookstore if I was on my phone. My phone was in my back pocket. I could have easily had it out, doing shit on there while he's putting my stuff through. You know, I would have totally missed this. How many opportunities do we miss to connect with people when we're so absorbed in what is happening online or whatever, instead of what is happening in the real world? Like, it actually stresses me out because you go out into society now, and if you put down your phone for 2 seconds and you just stand there and you look around, every single person is like this, scrolling. Every single person. Like kids on iPads, like, or their parents' phones, teenagers, adults, not so much the elderly people because they didn't grow up with this shit because they're fucking lucky. Like, I just think that we really need to put down our phones, and I'm becoming so much more aware of when I catch myself now constantly scrolling, and I'm like, no, like, I don't want to be part of that. It's like everyone's brainwashed. Everyone, like, connection to everyone is logging on to the internet, like connecting to a Wi-Fi connection and scrolling and liking their friends' posts and messaging them. That's not connection. That's fucked up, is what it is. If you, like, nowadays, hanging out with your friends is like a group chat. Do you remember when you actually used to hang out with your friends in person and connect with them and look them in the eye and be like, hey, tell me about what's going on in your life? You know, like, it's so rare now. And I tell you what, like, I just kind of had enough of it, and I'm just becoming more and more aware that we really have to put our attention back into the real world instead of the fake world of social media, you know? So I just want to encourage the crap out of you to, when you go out, please put your phone away, look around. You'll see what I'm talking about because everyone is doing it, even in their cars. I'm guilty of checking my phone when I'm in the car. Like, I'm no better than anyone. But what I'm saying is that I am making a conscious decision constantly to just switch off from that fake world and focus on the real one, you know? Connect with people, look them in the eyes, say hi to people when you're walking down the street. Like, bring back that, because, like, if we keep going like we are, God knows where the world's gonna go. Like, I don't know. I'm going to stop talking because my voice is kind of screwed if you haven't noticed. Ew. But yeah, just be mindful of your interactions. Try to be, like, as genuine as you can because the world is clearly lacking in that. And yeah, if you've made it to the end of this video, fucking good on you, because I really appreciate you watching this if you have watched the whole thing. Let me know what you think in the comments and stuff, because surely I'm not the only one who has been noticing what is going on lately. Everyone just looks like a brainwashed robot. And yeah, here's to more real connections in reality than on social media.